Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Coffee with Spects and Bryce. I'm Spects. That's Bryce. Neither of us have coffee, so I guess this name's a lie.
I mean, I'll never.
Yeah, we know you can't. I get it. Fine, you're better than us.
Look. No, I'm not. Definitely not. I love the smell of coffee. That's the thing. So I'm perfect for this podcast just because I love the smell of coffee.
You're the guy who sits in the coffee shop. Like, I just love the ambiance.
It's like, oh yes, that's good coffee smell.
Let's get some tea.
My wife's over here just like looking at me frowning. I can enjoy the smell of coffee.
Yeah, that's fine. Nothing wrong with it. It's a good smell.
Yeah, no.
It just means
I know some people who are like, I can't live without my coffee, but I hate how coffee smells. It's like,
oh, I love every part of it. I can't live without it.
Yeah.
And I love how it smells.
Yeah, no, I just like how it smells. I'm sure if I could drink coffee, I'd enjoy it immensely.
You can do decaf.
Nope.
Because it has caffeine.
No. That whole no.
Or is it just like a gateway drug?
Nothing. The whole thing has nothing to do with caffeine.
It's a gateway drug.
No. The whole thing has nothing to do with caffeine. I've had this conversation recently, but I've had this conversation with people recently, but it really just comes down to basically like the scripture that mentions it is just, it says hot drinks. It says something like hot drinks are not for the belly or something.
That's the whole thing is that's partially true. That's actually partially a true thing.
But
you should be drinking stuff at room temperature.
So what happened was people were like would read that and they'd be like I'm talking people in the 1840s were like, or 1830s, 1840s were like, what does that mean? And so they were given the answer, oh, it's just coffee and tea. Had nothing to do with caffeine. So like BYU has Coca-Cola on campus.
Yeah.
They didn't for a long time, but they do now. So
yeah, but that's weird because
like
back
a kind of half endorsement that it's okay.
But what's weird about that is like I know like Mormonism's like newer compared, but I know like back then it was like everything sort of had its purpose, where it was like hot water was mainly, and this is probably part of it too. Hot water back then was mainly like medicinal purposes. Was like medicinal cooking. Cold water was sort of used for like mainly drinking. And then you had like the disgusting warm water that was like, meh. That's probably the best thing for you. So it's probably got that kind of tie in where it was sort of like,
I mean,
we never
sure,
really drank it.
There's definitely stuff in there that's, I mean, I don't want to go too, I'm sure we don't want to go too far into this discussion, but there's stuff in there like that talks about eat meat sparingly. That most members of the church don't follow.
That's a Christian. I mean, that was also a Christian.
It's kind of but it's also kind of, and it's also kind of just kind of a, back then it would have been like meat was, usually not healthy to eat anyways, because you couldn't store it as adequately. And and also it was, often in very low supply, very high demand sort of things. It's like there are certain things that I think historically have that significance, but I think if you are if you're Mormon, it's more just a matter of like if it's what you believe in, then it's a matter of like following what you feel God has told you to do, even if it's something as small as not drinking alcohol or coffee or tea or whatever.
I personally like bacon.
I digress. I digress. I don't, but what I also don't want to do is ever try to give an answer that's not like explicitly ever been stated. I've heard,
I get it.
When I was on my mission, I would hear people who are like, oh, well, you can't do it because it might be bad for you. There's studies that show this and that. And then it's like, no, don't try to we're not going to science this.
No,
it's just how it is.
No, I get it. I get it. I understand more than you know.
You tweeted this last week that you're back.
Oh, my stats.
Yeah, you tweeted some stats and you're like,
You know,
but like, and then you said something to the effect of, but for real, thank you guys for, you know.
I was being wholesome.
Yeah. No. I wasn't making fun of you. I was saying Specs is back.
I also said I'll keep up the pace as long as I can.
Yep. No. And I think it's always what any of us actually expect of you. I think you have this vision that we're all like constantly expecting you just to wear yourself thin with streams.
I
get it, because I also sometimes get that vision where it's like, oh, but people are going to expect, like, I did a stream today that was Mario Maker that I don't normally do on Saturdays, simply because I was like, oh, I got to make up for Monday's lack of Mario Maker. But it's like, what? I didn't need to.
No, what I was sort of getting at was what I wanted. Because you and I were talking about something. I don't remember what, but I wanted to actually I wanted to kind of like see everything. So that's really what it was for. Cause I didn't realize I streamed as long as I did. I didn't realize I was
yeah, no. Your streams have been much longer than mine typically are. And you're streaming more regularly.
The 4th. So I topped 40 hours in like 2 weeks, you know. I didn't realize I was like back up to 40 hours.
Through that day,
I didn't realize
you streamed you
32 hours and 17 minutes.
299 live views, 87 unique views, 32 hours, 17 minutes streamed, 8 follows, and 2,489 chat messages, which is quite a stat. That one right there, I'm like, whoa.
I don't think that's the only time. It's not really that high. Wait, what'd you say?
I was just gonna say it only happens to me with Mario Maker. So
yeah, and I'm not exactly playing
like
the same
high chat messages. No, I know, but that's what's funny with you is you still get like chatters coming. You've got a group of people who all regularly come in and make fun of each other and make fun of you.
Yeah, I got reminded today because someone quit. Well, didn't quit. She had her last stream today. That's why I'm wearing the hat. Friend of my stream, Soccer Chick, had her last stream today. She almost made me cry, so I hate her right now. But she's one of the regulars. I'm sure she'll still be around, but she hung it up today, so I will gladly take them out and take all her followers. So
so if you follow Soccer Chick, go follow Specs.
No. But honestly, like, hey, if you ever see this, best of luck to you.
I guess we'll see if she watches this.
I hate you.
No,
you're.
But yeah, no, I'm. By the way, to set the tone for this podcast, I hope
the absolute worst.
I hope that. Nobody's expecting as good of comedy as what they got last week from me from stepping off camera. That's probably the peak comedy you're gonna get from me. So today you're just gonna get straight faced, just classic regular sports commentary from Bryce. Nothing exciting, nothing funny. I'm just gonna give it to you guys how it is.
Yeah,
you understand?
Sure, totally.
So no, but no, yeah, no, it's but it's good. It's been fun to see you back. I mean, your streams are I would personally say they're more entertaining than mine. But that's because I'm more judgmental of my own content. So
I never fully feel like I make good content.
I think that's the thing. You're always aware of yourself that it's like.
I'm stupid self-aware, despite what someone's like, only like 5 people are self-aware. I'm like, no, I'm stupid self-aware.
Yeah. Well, and then the thing is like you get more aware of certain things. Like today, I don't know how noticeable it was. You were watching at least for portions.
I have a confession to make. I was
watching it all.
No, I had you open, but I had your audio off. So I'm watching you, but I'm listening. I was listening to soccer. I'm like this. It was like bouncing back and forth. I just had yours open, but her audio going. Oh, fun fact. Did you know on the viewer, Twitch has put in a suppressor now into the player? And I hate it.
You're saying like how
if
many
you're
viewers
watching,
you actually
no,
have versus
no. A suppressor for audio, like an audio suppressor, like built into the player now, and I hate it.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
It's awful, and I hate it.
Yeah, she was really quiet when I turned on her stream.
Yeah, because one, she was talking through her webcam because her mic broke, but I didn't realize that there was an update to the player where there's now an where there's a compressor. So when I hit that button, bang, I could hear. Which I'm like, why?
Well, that would have been good to know.
I didn't realize that. So I'm like, wait, does that say compressor? And I'm like, why did you have a digital compressor?
I mean, Twitch is just all over the place this past week. We can talk about that in a sec, too.
But what's funny, okay, like I know audio so I understand audio. Your audio is already compressed. It's going to be slightly compressed. It's just the way it's output. It's going to be slightly compressed. So now it's being compressed again. So if you're just a Twitch watcher, be aware if it sounds muffled. So when it's over compressed, it'll just sound very muffled. It'll just be it's going to be very, very dull. So if you see that, hit it and it'll turn it off. So it'll be back to what we're hearing. And like I said, I didn't realize that. I noticed it with her stream. It was more noticeable in her stream because her mic was her webcam. Yours wasn't too bad, but it was still kind of muffled. So,
I mean, I'm just naturally loud, so
yeah. But it sounded like you could, but you could tell, like you could, you can describe it as it. I mean, you sort of deal with audio, so it's like you know too, where it's over compressed, where everything's just squeezed.
Yeah.
Especially when like we already have slight compression, maybe not a lot. Maybe that's what it's for. So that people who don't have the compression get the compression they need.
Sure.
But if you're listening to streams going forward and you're kind of like, why does it sound muffled? It's probably because that internal compressor that Twitch is using now is probably affecting it. So just hit the button. It'll clear it up. That's Specs Audio 101. Carry on. What were you saying about was it obvious?
Oh, I don't know if it was obvious, but I think because yesterday I worked and then I came home, or no, yesterday I worked and then I was taking care of some stuff, getting ready for our new apartment in terms of getting like the contract signed, and then that's a whole fun thing. Yeah, we'll be dual renting for 1 month, which is somewhat nice,
sucks.
But it's also expensive.
Oh, is it because of that whole like you'll still be there on the 1st, so you have to pay that month?
No, we basically we didn't know we were gonna move until a month ago, and then we had scheduled the vacation around the time our contract ends.
Gotcha.
We were gonna renew our contract.
Gotcha.
So we just basically wanted to make sure that we can be moved in fully.
So you gave yourself that buffer
before we leave for California.
Oh, so you gave yourself
and have everything signed out. So
we're
gonna have like all our contract, all of our keys turned in and everything done by the time we leave for California, and then we'll be able to.
So you were being proactive and being like, "Hey, let's give us that little breathing room just in case, off chance we need it."
Yeah, well, and then it gives us the whole month to make small trips with a bunch of little stuff, and
so you don't feel like you're as up against it.
Yeah, well, and then it makes it easier to organize stuff. Are we gonna keep this? Okay, yes, then we're gonna take it over there right now.
Yeah, and if you don't want it, you can kind of leave it there.
And then if we don't want it, then by the time we've brought most of the small things over to our new apartment, we can just throw all the other stuff out. Kind of.
No, that's smart.
Anyways, proactive. But so I did some stuff for that, and then I drove home, and within probably 20 minutes, I started streaming.
Yeah, don't do that.
So
I can't say
work, something, and then streaming, and then as soon as I was done streaming, I was able to relax for about an hour, and then go to sleep for another shift today, and then I did the same thing today. Well, kind of, yeah. So I did basically the same thing today. So I got off work, came home.
I mean, I used to
started getting stuff ready for the stream, and then I started streaming. And I hope it wasn't horribly noticeable, but it felt noticeable to me that I was like not quite as like energetic.
I think you're more aware of it. Like I said, maybe because my attention's split.
But,
the only thing,
well, definitely towards the end of the stream, I did pick it up. I was able to. I got a second win.
I think the only thing I notice is like you get, and I do it too. Maybe because it's Mario Maker, it's like you'll get, and like I said, I do this too. It's like you sort of get hyper focused on it, on like what you're doing a lot of times. I do the same thing. Like that was me yesterday with the Sentinel in Final Fantasy, where it's like I'm not really talking. I'm trying to react. God, I hate Final Fantasy's combat system.
I loved it, but
I don't mind that. See, if you caught my annoyance with it, weird segue. If you caught my annoyance with it, I hate the 8TB with a fiery passion, because you
can turn that off, right?
I'm turning it off. I hate it because I think I think in live combat like that, I don't think it adds anything. I think I think it's an unnecessary handcuff that I don't think the game needs. If it's turn-based, okay, that's one thing. But when it's like, it's supposed to be kind of like a ping pong ball back and forth, I don't think that's necessary, in my opinion. But I know that's like, well, that's what FF7 had. And I'm like, yeah, but also FF7 original was also turn-based, which made more sense. It was a buffer. It was just a buffer so that you couldn't like, so that like slower characters kind of got, or faster characters got nerfed.
There is a setting, and I forget how it works, but you basically turn it to like wait or manual or something. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I think the first time I played it, first time I played it, I turned it off because I remember I had Barrett in that fight like set to auto, where it was just like kind of like I had him just constantly peppering him and then just healing. So I could kind of just focus on his cloud and sort of like. You can
have some of their auto stuff, but
I also didn't really dive into it. I was just trying to get through as much as I could. I think I might have to just download an emulator and then play some of like the other ones.
Yeah. By the way, I am right now sitting at 19 followers away from where I was when I got follow botted.
Nice.
So that feels good because now I'm like, hey, this is my legit number now instead of my, for that few days where it was like, oh, you've got all the follows, Bryce. And I was like, well, not really.
Oh, speaking of Twitch, they did something very stupid and hilariously they never.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. And then, let's talk about the even more follow up to that. So
so the base story was, and I talked about it on my stream that day. They were basically, I think Ludwig got it right, is I think they're actually kind of going after stream elements with their third party like partnerships, because a lot of their stuff has like the burnt in stuff. But basically it was, you couldn't have like logos on your screen over 3%. You couldn't have like burnt in overlays, burnt in videos and audio. I haven't heard the audio one. Some people thought it was supposed maybe like a podcast where they would play something over it, but even then I haven't seen it. But that was the big thing, was like all that stuff, which basically meant live events couldn't be done where they had to like where they would do sponsorship ads. So they brought up like the Streamer Awards, and then OTK Today did when they had their Game Expo or whatever. Like a lot of the stuff couldn't happen. Speaking of Game Expos, Bethesda Xbox tomorrow on Sunday, so you guys will see this. Just don't script Starfield, side note, but all that stuff. I don't think you caught the start of my stream, right?
Yesterday?
Wednesday. I don't think
I might have. Are you talking about when Parrot mentioned that they had tweeted again?
No, that was Thursday. Wednesday when initially dropped.
Oh yeah. I do remember your rant about it. Talking about
I'm saying,
the One Life charity.
Yep. because that was the one thing they never mentioned. Because I was the one thing they still didn't really address it, but because I brought up what my friend does over at Justice League of Awesome, and how they have on the bottom, sorry if you're watching, like I had one of those, like my nose was starting to run and then it didn't, and then like something got stuck in a bad spot, so sorry.
Grade A content. That's
what
what
was I saying
here.
But yeah, like, so like they have the information where it goes through. It's like Shock Children's Hospital, Children's Miracle Network, and then Extra Life on the bottom. It's on their overlay so that they can kind of be like, hey, it's all down below. By what Twitch was saying, that couldn't happen. And I know like a lot of people who do charity streams, whether like Soccer did some, she had branded overlays. I remember working with her on some of that stuff. Was the branded overlay stuff with like whoever they were doing. One of the ones she did with Stack Up, they want you to put their logo on your screen so that everyone knows like, hey, this is what they're doing. So they never fully addressed that portion of it, which was interesting because it was a very like broad thing. And then they came back and said like, well, after reviewing, we're glad you voiced your opinion. It's like, no, what really happened was every big creator said, okay, if this goes through, I'm leaving the platform. You can take your $25. I'm leaving the platform because I can't do what I need to do. Now, alternatively, what I think they're pushing towards, yeah, there you go. It's on the screen now there. All the stuff, you can't really see my mouse, but all the stuff I guess you can. All this stuff right here is branded. So this is all Children's Miracle Network, Extra Life. These two are the charities that work together for Children's Hospital, Orange County Foundation. These all work together, and under Twitch's law, by what they were stating earlier in the week, this stuff would have been excommunicated, allegedly. Again, they backed off on this, but they never actually touched on this in particular, which I thought was not this, the other thing. Slide over. There we go. All this stuff right here.
Trying to do. Yeah,
all this stuff right here technically is branded, so I don't necessarily know. They never fully stated this, so I was under the assumption all this stuff too is under that umbrella because it was very, very broad. Again, I sort of agree with Ludwig when he said it might have been like they were trying to go after like stream elements, because stream elements even today, if you are a streamer and you use stream elements, you'll be aware. You'll be aware that in there, I'm gonna pull one up right now, actually, since I'm talking about this. I won't show it on screen, but I just want to point out this because I kind of have a hunch is what they're trying for. But if you click on any campaign, so like I'll click on one right here, it talks about, so like, one, they're awful. For the record, stream elements packages are generally awful. If you are a streamer, you've probably seen these where it says, hey, earn up to $560 doing Starfleet Commander. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Base goal, $10 whole. And it talks about get 2 viewers to participate in Fleet Commander, get to level 5, and perform the following. Promote Star Trek Fleet Commander in your chat bot for 2 hours. Okay, easy enough. Advertise Fleet Commander in your panel for a day. Easy enough. Stream with our Fleet Commander branded overlay goal widget for 2 hours. Promote Star Trek Fleet Commander on your stream for 2 hours. So again, that's burnt in, which is wrong. And if you go to another one, for instance, let me back out into another one. This one's for Puzzle Survivor. Same thing. Stream with our survival puzzle branded overlay goal widget for 2 hours. So both of them have it. Like I said, I have a hunch that's what they were really going for, was that stuff. And they kind of want you to go to the bounty board, which I think the bounty board's probably better. I think. But if you are doing this stuff like through stream elements, that's what I think they were going for. I don't know for certain, but it kind of feels like that's what they were aiming towards. So proceed with caution. But I don't know if that's what the inherent thing was. They sort of want to push their own stuff, which is totally fine. But again, Twitch wants the ad revenue and they want a cut of all the ad revenue. So it's moving that direction. I've said for a while, as I continue to just spiel, but I've had a thought for a while that they are going to start pushing more like $50 to $300 a month for smaller streamers like your and my size for ads. As we kind of get close, like as that kind of continues, because they want to push Twitch Turbo, they want to really push all the ad stuff. Is what I think they want to do, where it's like either you support the stream or you do Twitch Turbo. That's probably what we're headed for. But I think you're going to see that kind of like play out in the summer and the fall, which if you're, like I said, if you're a viewer, I don't want to say get used to it because that seems so mean, but I would say just be very, very aware that you're probably going to get hit with like a minute and a half worth of ads at the top and bottom of every hour. I run ads in my stream. Bryce run ads in his stream. Big reason I run them. My viewers don't have an inherent issue with it. Neither does Bryce's. And
not typically. I mean, every once in a while I'll get somebody to complain.
But for the most part, like I'm transparent as I can be with it. It's not, my viewpoint has always been, I go off of what my viewers want. A lot of people who say like ultimately what it does for me, in my opinion, is the value of not having pre-rolls on for essentially the whole stream outweighs that 3 minutes where we're ultimately, if we're kind of aware of where the ad is or someone says ads, we can kind of stop. Most games have some sort of like, okay, we can pause here, and it gives us a chance to sort of like take a breather too, because I know like lately I'll play for 2 hours and not really move, which is bad. So inherently,
that's typically what I do is it's actually nice because it reminds me to go, okay, hold on, let me go use the restroom, let me go grab some water, let me go do whatever.
That inherent like 90 seconds is good, and I think that's something that we just need to like just be aware of. I know when I was doing it manually, I'd always sort of shoot like 2-minute ad breaks when I was getting up, just because it's like I'm not gonna be there anyway. Fire it. But
that's it. You used to have a reward.
That's my viewpoint. I didn't. I never had like a run an ad on the pill.
You did.
No, I never had to run the ads on the plebs.
Must have just been somebody else that I've watched.
Some people do, where they're kind of like run an ad on the plebs, and it's like okay, but like I just run it just so it gives me a break, and I can sometimes I like kind of like the segmented content, but it's neither here nor there. But that's what happened over the week. They reversed it. Now we're here. I also signed up for Twitch Bounty Board, but that's neither here nor there. But I digress.
Luckily, like I said earlier in the week, my whole thing is Twitch tends to just be a hobby for me. So more so than anything, more so just an enjoyment of bringing people content.
I know you laughed. I laughed and you said, well, how does that affect
wanting to build whatever?
Yeah, I laughed. You're like, well, how does that affect you? And I'm like, well, not a lot. However,
yeah, so,
it was more like it stifle. I think my response to you was it stifles growth, which is inherently bad.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I'm not going out looking for sponsors anyways, so
you'll get one you like. Wait till you get that Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah, well, I've had Raid Shadow Legends offered by Stream Elements, but
I took that one in a heartbeat because that's when I knew I made it, because that's easy money.
Yeah. No, it's just I've just been kind of playing it by ear with that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of, it's not like it's money that I'm needing. It's more like me just having fun putting out content that I like to do. And
yeah, it's always good.
And I'm starting to get people who are returning to me. I think I might have mentioned this last week, but in the past week or two, I've noticed like there was one time I streamed. I think I did mention this week, but I streamed and I didn't do what I usually do, which is post like some of the Discord like
mentioning that.
self promo sort of thing. And it's like, and I still averaged like 6 or 7 viewers, and it was like, oh, people actually are actually coming to watch me. They're not just seeing me on some stream of people who are promoting their content and going, oh yeah, I'll click on and see what this guy's doing. He's doing viewer levels. Oh, that sounds like fun.
I think
So,
you're in that nice
people
spot.
I think mostly know you are doing viewer levels, so let's go and hang out.
That's
with
what
you.
it is. No, that's what it is. That's a bad thing, but I do think,
And I'm good enough at them that they can at least find.
I think
that I'll play enough of their level.
Yeah, I think you have the luxury of sort of being like small and being like, oh, I can get my levels. Like, someone can see my level. And I think you kind of run it where it's like, oh, I can do this in a video too and shout them out in the video.
Yeah,
like you did this week.
Yes, I did. That was cool. And that video is actually doing pretty well. Well, I mean, considering my video's not pretty well considering YouTube overall, but I don't really care, how I fare versus the world, basically. But no, and that's actually been interesting. Is I was actually going to mention that is my content is finally my YouTube and my Twitch content, because I'm pushing so hard on Mario on both, basically.
Getting the crossover.
I'm starting to get people who are subscribing to my YouTube because they follow my Twitch and vice versa. And I'm starting to get people who are reaching out and saying, "Hey, you're doing some good content. Keep it up." Sort of thing. It's like, hey, that's nice. Like, part of why I do it, right? So
yeah. Well.
Now, maybe now in the next once I beat my Valheim playthrough, maybe I'll rearrange some of the stuff on my hard drive and join you in playing, like not literally join you, but play Final Fantasy VII Remake. And
I've been playing that on my PlayStation.
I've got it on my.
I have it on PlayStation.
I've got it on my Epic games. It's one of the few that I still play through Epic. So
I got it on my
mostly because I
PlayStation.
bought it when it was only on Epic, and so I can't.
I remodeled the bottom of my underneath my desk now, so I brought my Xbox is now hooked. My Xbox is down here, so I got like 3 Xbox games that if I wanted to play, I can.
We still need to get you like a green screen so we can like settle me and you behind, so like the coffee table and like be sitting there with like our hot brews or whatever.
Yeah, I laugh. We were so when you saw the stream. So what's funny is last weekend when I was playing Final Fantasy VII with Sean, the wall that's behind him is just white and barren, but everything we look at has something. So I made the comment, I'm like, dude, let's just pull the couch back, get the green screen, take a picture of like they have a wall with a chair and behind it has stuff on it. I'm like, take a picture of that and just shove that behind us. It looks so much better than this stupid blank wall that's directly behind us. Like, I know like my background's kind of bad, but I at least have like you get like a poster. I'm doing the point thing again that Bryce hates, but you have like that poster. Yeah, it's just that thing. But I have that post. Like I have a poster behind me. So it's like you get something there.
Is that what I need to do for the picture for afterwards?
I only did that. I don't even know what. Like my favorite one with that was the Valheim one. I love that one because it was just sort of like.
Is that the one where it looks like your arm's getting sucked back into it?
So for whatever reason, when I did it originally, I had my jacket on and it cut off my hand. So in any of those things, my hand's just not there. But I put me holding the sword that I green skinned in a hand with the sword. So I just put the hand there and I got the helmet on and just like, that's a troll.
That's almost as good as my wand.
The wand was funny.
And then I put the wand in my hand.
Yeah.
Photoshop.
Yeah.
All my photoshopping skills on that one.
But now I try to make a thumbnail, like a new thumbnail picture, like every chance I get.
I literally almost every video now I'm like doing like I sit in front of my green screen. I'm just like,
yeah. Yeah. So I
there's literally a video of me just doing that.
No, that's what I did.
If you were to watch that video, you'd be like,
"What the hell?" Yeah.
So, but yeah, no.
I guess I have to play Final Fantasy VIII now.
Final Fantasy VIII. Oh, I've heard good stuff about the game, but I've also heard
if
you either love it or you hate it.
If I can get I can probably get a PlayStation 2 emulator. I'll play them.
Yeah,
because they're not that big. They're not big games. But
they're not a big game.
But speaking of Final Fantasy VII, the part 2 of the okay, is it actually part 2 or is it one of those like offshoots? I'm under the assumption it is part 2 of the remake.
I was under the assumption that was part 2. Final Fantasy.
It was just the title. It was just the title threw me.
I mean, yeah, they call it Rebirth, but the first one was technically called Final Fantasy Remake.
Yeah.
Remake, Rebirth, and it's probably gonna be like something. The PlayStation 5 is gonna have 2 discs,
which I think people were kind of upset about. I thought that was just hilarious. I'm like, that is such a throwback to the original one. Because now because here's what's really funny: if you got the first one on disc plus this one, you're back to 3 discs, which the original one was 3 discs. It was.
I doubt they're finishing the game.
It seemed I made this comment to you and Sean. It seemed like they got pretty far.
But I got through
because they got to what's his face.
I mean, because the way without giving too many spoilers, but I guess if you haven't played part 1 of the remake, it's been out for a while on all sorts.
Well, I'm playing it right now and I haven't beaten it, but I remember somebody when it came out, somebody said that one ends right when you get out of Midgar, which wasn't too terribly long which wasn't too like far into the game originally.
Yeah, no. So, there's still a lot to do. I mean,
but I guess too. Okay, this is what's weird.
It's also just going to be very interesting because there.
But I guess too
I don't want to give stuff away to you in particular, but there are some drastic changes at the end of the initial game that it makes you wonder like how is it going to happen, and then there's teases of like changing the story completely, which is fine. That's how you kind of want them to tell a story.
I think it kind of seemed like, well, I think the Luffy DLC kind of is going to help speed it along. So if you don't necessarily do that side quest in the main game together, whatever.
Oh yeah,
because I remember if I recall that side quest was sort of obnoxious because it was like a timing thing and you couldn't miss her to get her in the party. So I guess that offshoot, hey, whatever. But
yeah, well, so it was with her. With her, what would happen is it was kind of a random encounter kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. I remember like when we got to it, it took us like a good 30 minutes because we had to wait.
In the original, you had to like run around a certain area and then with a specific item. Yeah. And then she steals all your materia. Yeah. She'll steal all your materia if you answer her questions correctly. And then she'll steal your materia and you basically chase her up to Wutai, and then you basically have to chase her around her hometown. Yeah. Then you help her settle some stuff, and then she's like, "Yeah, fine, I'll join your group." And you're like,
"Because I
weren't really asking you to, but okay."
Scrubbing the backlogs in my brain, if I recall correctly, that middle portion of the game sort of dragged on because you had to deal with the Luffy side quest, and then for the Yuffie side quest, and then you had like the casino area, which was like a good. It felt that was such a good chunk of the game that if they can realistically, if they speed up that process, and I don't think we really know how the overworld travel is going to be, But if that process is more streamlined, then yeah, they could probably get, bigger chunks of the game fledged out more, because since there aren't random encounters in the game, it's all live action or like, interactive combat. So I'm honestly, they might be able to get like 95% of the way through it while adding to the story, but eliminating a lot of like the fat that the original had on it. Because how often we played the game, like even on Saturday, where it's like, oh, I have to, we're traveling here, we're traveling there, and it's like, how much of that time is just going from place to place?
Yeah,
because like what we were doing when we were trying to go, I forget where, to get the no legs who has legs.
You're talking about starts with the B.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him Master Roshi because that's what it reminds me of. But like doing that, like that guy, where it was like a lot of like random encounters and stuff, where it was just like having travel and all that stuff, where it's like if that stuff's gone and that like fat's gone, that's not how combat, because that's not how combat.
Yugenhagen.
That's not how that combat's gonna work. If it's, like I said, if it's more story driven, like 15 was, like this is, and the combat's gonna be free flowing.
Yeah.
How much of that game gets, doesn't get cut, but gets more refined,
streamlined.
Like, yeah, it'll get more streamlined, so it's less like there's just like the only fluff is like the side quests. But like, because like in the remake part 1, you get through the generator, you get done with the first generator in what, 30 minutes, 30 in-game minutes, really, which is nothing. And I remember in 7 it was way longer than that.
Yep. No. Yeah, they definitely will probably streamline certain aspects of how it works. I mean,
so
the golden saucer stuff was, I think, built in partially because it gives you the opportunity, if you're stuck or
Chocobo racing,
or maybe wanting to slow down a bit.
I just wanted to get the Chocobo.
Yeah, it gives you a chance to do mini games and stuff, and
Chocobo
those aren't going to be in this.
And if
that was part of the PlayStation 1 thing, was like, hey, look, we got a bunch of mini games in our game.
And if you don't,
so it's not as big of a thing on current.
And if you
hardware.
don't love the fat Chocobo summoning, you get, we're not friends anymore, because that is the best. Fat Chocobo is the best summon in that game. Fight me.
Yeah,
I love it. Just that fat Chocobo just falling. Bloop.
Oh man. No, my and I think my wife's main memories from me having played that game in the past are well, the main thing is the song from the Golden Saucer, which is like da 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 or something. No. That's the other song that my wife knows from Final Fantasies. It's the military march when you get to the whole, like, you have to like march in place.
Yep.
And so all you hear is the
drum roll. Yeah, that drum. Fun fact, I almost changed my follower alert to the victory sound from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh.
Yep. I didn't though.
It's great music.
My gift sub, if you gift a sub to someone who hasn't gotten a gift sub before, it's the chest opening from Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to give somebody a sub who hasn't gotten one, you'll get the chest opening.
Maybe I need to make Final Fantasy VII reference, and it might give subs, and you'll actually give me some. I'm just kidding. No. So yeah, no. So, but Final Fantasy VII, that should be fun once we see what actually comes out of it. But it looks good. I'm excited to see. Like, I'm sure a lot of the story is going to be similar, but it's going to have that same like, but with drastic changes kind of thing.
Maybe.
But anywho, I guess do we want to talk Angels first, or do we want to talk NBA Finals first?
Do finals first.
Well, looks like the Nuggets are going to win the finals.
Yeah.
There's almost
going into
no
game
way.
5 or 6,
Yeah.
right? 5.
5.
5.
They're up 3-1.
I mean, they'll do it in Denver, I guess.
That's my guess. Well, it was interesting because like they won game 1 and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, are they gonna sweep Miami?" And I think even we were like,
we made the comment they played small.
I think we said we don't think they're gonna sweep Miami, but we wouldn't be surprised if they did after game 1.
Yeah.
You look suspicious of something.
No, my cat did a cat thing and I caught it, so I
okay.
Inform the other person that happened. Sorry.
Very mysterious.
Yeah. So yeah, game 2 happened. I didn't expect
that
it.
Loaf of bread is just so good.
The funny part was, I think people overreacted to game 2, and because I don't know, I understand, like, because we do it too. Like in sports, we get so caught up in like what instantly happened that how many people were the next day were like, maybe Miami has a shot. And they
once game 1 ended, I was like, okay, now. I mean, I will say this: after Miami won game 2, there was a part of me that was like, could this be an interesting series?
Well, here's what was funny, and the way I was looking at it was, maybe because like it felt similar to like what the Lakers how the Lakers in Miami did it. But the way I was looking at it was, like I forget what the total, like what the shot percentage was, but it was like game 1 was like ice cold, and then game 2 was more hot. So it's sort of like, okay, the truth lies in the middle, right? Like what you probably saw in game 1 and game 2 were more like the two extremes, right? Whereas like for game 3 in Miami, it was sort of like it just went back to like whatever, what we had, where it was Miami being caught on the back foot and Denver just pushing forward.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think that's what we're gonna see. Is you're gonna see more of that. Is like,
well, I think after game 2, what I said was, yeah, I could see Jimmy Butler pulling out a game or 2 where he like pushes Miami he wills them to victory.
Like I said, it's almost
Jimmy Butler reminds me so much of Kobe, but the thing is Kobe didn't have. This is more like Kobe This is more like Kobe and the Lakers in 08 versus the Celtics, in my opinion. It's more like, yeah, you've got Jimmy Butler who can potentially win 1, maybe 2 games, but then it's just, you're not going to overcome a team that's
where
built
it's like where you had to, like, after that series, all of a sudden, like, you saw Powell kind of take more force. I mean, but the whole thing is, you think they would have learned after the shortened season 3 years ago that, okay, Butler can't do this on their own. We need to help Butler. And it's like, it's almost like they haven't done that per se, where you're kind of just like, okay, now what? And I know like Heat fans will, I don't want to say cope, but they're very prisoner of the moment where it's, you know, in like, I don't know how to put it, where it's like one time they're like, trade Bam. No, we need Bam. Trade Lowry. No, we need Lowry. But it's almost like, because I know what they're going to say this year if they lose. It's like, well, we didn't have Tyler Hero. We didn't have Tyler Hero. Where it was like in 2020, well, we know we didn't have Bam. We didn't have Goron. It's like, you can't really be a game of what if, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to just go out there and perform with what you got. Like, is it unfortunate that, someone got hurt? Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens.
Yeah, I know. Well, while I will say there is some point to, yeah, they don't have Hero,
but does Tyler Hero make that much of an impact?
At the same time, if Hero came back, does that mean he adds to everything they're doing? No, he's going to.
If anything, he's going to lessen what they're doing.
He will add some, but it's not like everything he does will be on top of what they're already doing. It's going to take away from Jimmy Butler. It would take away from
Gabe Vincent, who's been on fire.
Yeah, no, it's like no, we can't play this game because I don't ultimately think it would change anything because Jokic is such a strange player to watch.
Yeah.
And what's ultimately really funny about this is despite getting swept, and I know it just makes you sound like a Lakers homer, and fine, if that's how you view this, then I can't convince you otherwise. I honestly think the Lakers came the closest out of any team in this playoffs.
I would agree with that.
To unlocking what it took to beat the Nuggets. And they had most of the pieces they needed. They just need a couple more. And then I think they could compete with the Nuggets team. The thing is could they compete with every other team? That would be questionable. But
I made the point too with CJ is I'm like, I think we undervalue what it means to have Aaron Gordon as your fourth best option. Like we undervalue that a lot when it's like he's a 3 or 2 on most teams. Like Miami, he's probably a 2-3 option, right? Like we undervalue that so much, you know?
I don't know if I could say this enough. Though with like, yeah, that's very true. But like I also don't know if I could say this enough with, and I don't know if I've said it before on the podcast, but Jokic is such a weird player to watch. He's so methodical.
He's a loaf of bread.
Yeah, no, but it's like it's so funny to watch him because he's just like, you know, he goes in and he puts up these shots where you're like, oh, there's no way that's going in.
Oh,
and all of a sudden it's just like it swishes or it you know, banks it, and you're just like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah, how many times did you
just created that shot out of nothing?
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I assume the Heat will be champions either tomorrow or
Tuesday.
I don't think it's
Wednesday. I think is what it is.
I don't think it's going back to Miami though. I'd be shocked. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say shocked because if Jimmy Butler did in Game 6 against the Lakers, he just willed them the victory. So, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I just imagine the. I just didn't imagine the series going like this though, because it was like when the reason I ever doubted, well, I wouldn't say doubted, but like had any like concerns about Denver was after Game 2 was, you know, it's like you lose at home as Denver and you do wonder, you're like, oh well, Miami could do some good stuff on their home court, but then Denver literally came into Miami and was just like, yeah, no, we got this. We're the dominant team. We're the team that's gonna win the finals this year. They really do. It does really make Denver look like the team of destiny this year. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. Speaking of teams of destiny, the Angels won 5 straight. They're losing right now, but I wrote about this earlier.
It's not over till it's over, though, right?
No, I didn't expect them to like win 8 in a row. They got 6, so I mean or 5.
Oh yeah, they just went down even further. They're down 6-2 right now.
Yeah, like whatever. You were probably gonna lose one anyway. Like, whatever. They haven't seen Woo before, so I'm not overly shocked by it. It's one of those things. But Moni,
what's his name? Adele.
Adele murdered the ball.
His first at bat back, he just murdered it. And has he even played in the past couple games?
No, he went back down today. Tonight? No, he went back down. They activated Renfro from paternity.
But I guess that makes sense. But like, it's funny for him to come in, have actually a really decent game, and then just be like, all right, you're back down. And that's the funny thing.
That was the spot. Right now, that's what he had to do.
They've got this glutton in the outfield.
No,
now.
It's good.
I mean, I guess we can't say glutton because it's not like we can look at Adele and say he's for sure back.
No,
like, he's for sure ready. But it's like, whoa, now all of a sudden you've got Ward is not doing as great as you'd want him to, but he's starting to pick it back up. You've got Moniak
who went from trash to something.
Well, he went from trash to looking like
do you know how
was
bad
the first when he was the first pick.
Do you know how bad he was actually doing that before we got him?
He was really bad.
He was slugging like $130. Like,
yeah, and now you plop him into a game after not playing for several games, and he's like, I'm gonna go 3 for 4 and hit a home run or a double. And
I wrote an article this week just on him because I was sort of like, I'm like, oh, he figured it out. What the heck, what was going on? And looking at the numbers, I'm like, wait, he didn't do anything in Philly, like at all. Like it wasn't just like, oh, it was 1 year. No, it was like he would play in like 20 games, hit $130, on base low, slugging low, and it was just like, what are they doing? Like, what is going?
You do wonder if what was interesting though was last year before he got injured,
his numbers
he went up as soon as he came to LA, and you wonder if I don't know, you partially wonder, and it's the same kind of thing that I wonder with Adele is there this thing where you have this high end draft pick. I'm just talking to Spects' chair here. No, but you have this high-end draft pick, for us it was Adele, but where maybe you have this high-end draft pick and you kind of just are like, yeah, this guy's gonna be amazing, so let's just kind of plop him in there and he'll be fine. Then maybe you don't give enough thought to what you really needed to do to develop this guy, even the guy who was a top pick.
Philly is way different though than Anaheim. Like here, I even wrote about it. I made the comment. I'm like, in Anaheim, you don't get this player sucks instantly. It's like we don't our sports radio doesn't do that for the most part. Even our local shows were kind of they're a little bit more pragmatic. That where it's not like in Boston, in Philly, in New York, where it's they just belittle players, and it's you're starting to hear that more and more, where it's guys get out of New York or these places, and it's yeah, I can breathe. And Moniak, I think, said something to that effect, where it's they didn't really give me a shot in Philly. It was so difficult, but out here, it's one, he's from here, so he's more relaxed than that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure being home has a lot to do with it.
You do see it with some of these East Coast prospects, though. You're right. I mean, even flashes of it, from guys like Velasquez, Squid. He was fine in New York. He was a defensive power, great. But when he came here, it wasn't a night and day difference like it's been with Moniak. It's a lesser example,
but he was hitting better.
He had caught stretches where you thought, if we could lock him in to this, he could be a very solid second baseman. He could be a league one of the sought after.
Now you got Jury, and
we couldn't lock him in.
And
now we've got guys who can fill his spot. And it's
you're in that spot where it's sort of ends up being the Fletcher situation, where it's as much as I laugh and they say, well, he's hitting over 300 in AAA, and I'm cool. He's not going to do that here. Honestly, at this point, he's upping his trade value, but it's his days Anaheim are done because Rengifo took that spot. Rengifo can hit.
Yeah.
And then you
were wrong.
What?
You were wrong
about Rengifo? I mean, my later assessment was pretty spot on of what he
Yeah,
what
but
he
your
is.
initial assessment was bad.
My initial assessment was he can't play defense, but he has a bat, which is right.
I mean, he's gotten what's the word I'm looking for? He's gotten
better.
adequate at defense.
But I think too, when if you know you're locked into a role, you can handle it a little better. And if he's sort of like, hey, you're the backup middle infielder and occasional outfielder, that's where you're gonna be, then you can kind of be like, okay, like that's what I'll do. So
yeah, and when he's not getting popped up and down between
AAA, yeah, when it's like
AAA, and
hey, you'll hit 5, 6, 7, and you're gonna be playing here. Okay, cool. Like,
well, and then
there's value.
You know, what was the other tweet I wanted to talk about with the Angels was Timmy's.
What did he?
Tim Van Stratton, friend of the
oh God, what did
podcast. He
he
compared the last year's team or last year's lineup to like it was like a lineup from last year to today.
The team were the one that ended the
lineup on this day last season.
I know. Yeah,
and it was Juan Lagares, Shohei Ohtani, Max Stassi, Jared Walsh, Joe Adele, Dylan Thomas, Jack Mayfield, Tyler Wade, and Andrew Velazquez.
Yep.
And then like our lineup that day was like all our major like guys that you want.
Yep.
And again, it's what I said going into the season of like this team. Every who kept saying like, oh, it's the same old with the Angels. Like I get it, and then I'm not expecting a World Series from them. I'm not even sure they can necessarily do enough to keep Shohei. Maybe they can. I'm not sure. That is the thing though. Is I'm not sure. It's not a matter of. He's definitely gone, but it's more like. Well, we haven't done enough to say like Trout. Yes, but
I mean, it was like with Trout, where it's like Trout was gone until he wasn't.
Yeah,
it's one I don't know. Do you really? Do you think like? And I've asked before. Do you think do you care more about seeing the process and thinking this team is? If I'm here, this team's there, or do you go and say that team doesn't necessarily need me, but they can win better? Like where do you? Where it's like, where does he fit in that on that spectrum?
Sure. Well, but that's what I'm saying is, but the depth I think is going to make a huge difference this year, especially as we go down the stretch, because it's like we went a stretch here without Rendon. We lost, I say we lost, but we had Renfroe go on the paternity list for a couple games.
Miss a step, yeah.
And we didn't miss a step. We just kept going. It was like, oh my gosh, this is what this team like. This is why more so than anything else. Yeah, screw Artie, screw him, screw Phil Nevin. But the one glorious piece we have is Perry Managian. We have what I think is one of the better general managers in the game.
I want to find it.
The problem is we need to really set up behind.
Can I read?
We need to set up behind Perry.
Can I read this? Because I thought this was funny. So I made a tweet last week when it right before they started winning. I made the comment: the constant calls for Angels rebuild show how little the masses actually understand. The biggest issue with this team, the team has is Nevin. That is the issue that needs to be solved first. And some dimwit goes, nothing about baseball. We think Nevin is the biggest problem, not Artie Moreno. I didn't see it, but if I did, I would have been like, you don't know one thing about baseball if you don't think Artie Moreno is going to leave anytime soon.
Yeah, it's like
that's the thing.
We have to deal with Artie regardless. So
and then I made the
why worry about Artie? Let's worry about what we can control.
Wait, where was it? And then I made the comment. I love how people think me saying Nevin is the issue means I'm ignoring Artie. I've been calling for Artie. I'm not. I've been calling for him to be gone for 2 years. Artie's selling and not selling, preventing the Angels from being a manager. They can fix part of it. I just hope it's not too late. No, I get. I know what the problem is. It's in the owner's box, but I'm also aware of if they're saying when they were making the comments prior that, oh, he's looking at 2026. It's like, okay, he's not leaving. I'm not gonna be banging the hammer like get him out of there when he's not gonna be. Let's fix what we can fix, and if that what we can fix is that.
We got a guest appearance from Spects and Cat.
I know I have to keep an eye on this one. What you doing? Go on.
Anyways, no, but yeah, the Angels. It's just like we've got this team that we can finally rely on to get some wins. It's not amazing. It's not. We're not. You know. We lost 3 or 4 to the Astros, but at least we took one. I feel like that series against the Astros last year would have resulted in a series sweep. The team would have just been so out of it and so lack of talent that it would have been a series sweep last year. But instead, they at least cobbled together a victory.
One
victory, yes, one. And I mean that's why I would say we're not winning the World Series this year. I mean, now to be fair, if the Angels can continue to put themselves in position to make a wild card spot, anything can happen in the playoffs. Yeah, if the Angels got hot with Shohei and Trout and just won a bunch of games, yeah, maybe they could, but they're definitely not built that way. But it's like I think you told me a few weeks ago, this is a team where if they just become buyers at the deadline and maybe sell a piece or two off,
the problems the problems they have are fixable. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of can you wait out 2 months to get into the deadline where it's just like get a bullpen piece, get a rotation piece.
If they can go well, and I think if they can go into the trade deadline, you know, maybe 10 games above 500, then okay. I'm definitely saying definitely buy, because you might be able to make a good run and go for the playoffs. Because if you're 10 games, I mean that'd be quite an accomplishment. But if you're 10 games above 500 by that point, then you could then make the run to go, you know, 10, 15 games at the end of the season, because you could at least rely on a team where you had 2 good pieces to go 500 or more for the rest of the season. So,
yeah, no, I agree. But we'll see. Time will tell. If they pick
that was kind of
how
we were last year. We'll see. Last year was we started so hot, we were like, yeah,
and then just the bottom caved down and just went. Well, the bottom.
That's the thing this year is
it hasn't.
The top end doesn't feel as amazing, but the bottom end doesn't feel like it's
as bad.
Far down. It feels like we've got a lot stronger base. So
it's just a matter of Texas. The only question really is Texas going to continue doing what they're doing, and will Houston get it going to where we're used to them? If the questions are no to Texas, and Houston kind of like gets it going a little bit, maybe not where they are, then there's a shot. But there's a lot of season to be played, and it's like we're starting to see where things are. Like Seattle's really not where they were last year, which I've been saying for as long as I can. So we'll see what. I don't mean to be like, well, you don't have an answer. No, I mean like we're almost halfway through this, so we'll take a gander once we get to that point. But until that point, who knows?
It's hard to read. It's hard to read the future when there's still a lot of the future left to go. So
you can extrapolate and just sort of say like, oh, well, they'll probably be here. Like, I still think they'll win 90 games. Will that get them wild card? Who knows? The East is disgusting. So unless the East slows up, it might be 2 come out of the East.
Well, there's definitely going to be towards the end of the season. There's going to be some cannibalism in the East, so
probably
as a lot of the teams, because a lot of the teams I know towards the end of the year all face off against their own divisions, so that's when you start seeing a lot of Pac-12 type cannibalism. So and maybe we can get some of that while Spects gets his.
I'm playing this fun game with the cat of what are you doing, and she's gonna steal my chair now. Can we end this? I got a problem child.
All right. Well, I'll side us out since you're having so much struggles.
She stole my chair. You can't see
But
it.
anyways,
There's a
yeah.
light.
Well, like we said, we'll
My
see what
cat
happens
here.
with the Angels. And but
Not
yeah,
going on the desk.
make sure.
Nope.
Make sure you're checking out Spects Gaming TV on Twitch, Bryce the Prince Gaming on Twitch, and both Spects Gaming TV and Bryce Prince Gaming are also on YouTube. I forgot to mention that. And if you're watching here on YouTube, then make sure you check out our channels. We got lots of good content. I do Mario Maker. Spects does a lot of variety stuff. So
I don't care if they say cats are worse than children.
And anyways,
God dang it.
Hopefully you guys all have a good week. And until next time, Specs, do you have anything else?
Pets and children.
All right. Well, we will see you guys